Today's topic is dreaming. It's about coming up with new ideas, new passions for your consideration. So it's a 5-step process that I'm going to walk you through today. Step number 1, I want you to ask yourself the following question. Wouldn't it be cool if fill in the blank? Wouldn't it be cool if I started my own business? Wouldn't it be cool if we traveled to Europe? Wouldn't it be cool if we moved across the country? Wouldn't it be cool if I started a podcast? Wouldn't it be cool? And you insert whatever comes to mind. Don't judge these thoughts. You may have multiple thoughts that come to mind. Just think through them and then move on to step 2. Step 2 is to give these thoughts space. I want you to hold space for these ideas. I know personally, I've asked myself the question, wouldn't it be cool if, and I filled in the blank, and immediately my mind said, that's absurd. Stop thinking that way. There's no way that you could insert whatever action or whatever dream. And then immediately that dream shut down. And I don't give it more thought. I challenge you to stop that. To stop shutting down these ideas, that surface level, you want to say, oh, no way. There's no way that this dream will become a reality. I want you to hold space for these ideas. And holding space for ideas simply means not brushing it off. Keeping with it, so you ask yourself that question, wouldn't it be cool if, and you insert with various ideas. And then you just let it sit. Let it sit in your mind for a time. So giving it space means maybe you ask yourself that question, you fill in with some ideas, and then you go on a walk and you ponder a little bit. Or maybe you go about your day, but keeping it in the back of your mind and thinking about it a little bit instead of shoving it aside and completely forgetting about it. After a couple of days, so giving it space, a day or two, or maybe it's something that is more urgent in your life, so maybe you need to give it less time. But if not, I suggest a couple of days just giving it space in your mind, giving yourself time to ponder it a little bit, nothing formal. Step number 3 is to actually write something down. I want you to take out a piece of paper, fold it in half, or use your phone or get on your laptop, whatever's most convenient. But if you're using a piece of paper, fold it in half, and on the left side, write pros, on the right side, write cons. And again, without judgment, just jot down whatever comes to mind in terms of pros and cons for that idea that you came up with. Wouldn't it be cool if? Simply jotting down what's coming to mind and not judging immediately and not writing something down. Just whatever comes to mind, think through it, think about whether it's a pro or a con. And then I want you to close that paper up or exit out of the app on your phone or exit out on your laptop and set it aside. Don't spend more than 15 or 20 minutes on this pros cons list. I don't want you to dwell too much on it. And then give it another day. Set it aside, have that pros for cons list so you've written it down so you no longer have to keep it in the back of your mind after pondering for a day or two. But have that pros or cons list off to the side for about a day. And then come back to it. Come back to that pros or cons list, and maybe you can think of a couple more a few more pros or cons to add. But this is a time that I want you to evaluate how you assessed that idea, the pros and the cons. And in your evaluation, think through each pro and each con and weigh them. How important is that pro to you? Is it a number 1, utmost importance? Is it a number 2, kind of neutral, it's important but not super important? Or is it a number 3? Really, now that I think about it, it's not that important, that pro. So I want you to evaluate each of your pros and cons. So if you determined it's a con, how strongly do you feel about that con? If, for instance, wouldn't it be cool if we moved across the country, and a con would be moving away from family? How important is it for you to be close to family? So number 1, utmost important, to number 3, not super important in the scheme of whatever idea that came to mind. So rank them 1 to 3, each of those pros, each of those cons. And then I want you to assess and come to terms with whether this idea is worth pursuing, aka whether the pros outweigh the cons. Don't just look at your list and see how many pros and how many cons. If you have more pros, then it's worth it. Because remember, we evaluated each of those pros and each of the cons based on how important they are to you. So you may have only 4 pros and then you have 10 cons, but once you get down to each of those and evaluate them based on importance, you may see that the quantity does not matter based on importance. So if you determine that the pros outweigh the cons, then I want you to move to step 5. Step 5 is taking action. Now, at this point, don't write down a full action plan on getting from dream to reality. I want you to take one small step, because that one small step could motivate you into chipping away one small step at a time to making that dream a reality. And oftentimes when we think about wouldn't it be cool if, it's something that's big. It's not just a small little action plan to make the dream a reality. It's something big that is a passion maybe you want to pursue. And so I don't want you to become overwhelmed, which can often lead to being paralyzed to not take action. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by coming up with this elaborate plan. I just want you to take one step. So write down one step that you can take towards making this dream a reality. So maybe the wouldn't it be cool if is moving to a new state. Maybe that one step that you're going to take is once a week spending 15 minutes researching the areas that you're interested in moving to. Maybe it's schools that you're looking at. Maybe it's houses you're looking at. But that could be one step that you could take. And as I talk in other services about habit stacking, you could take that one step and add on to it when you're ready. So based on this dream becoming a reality, I do suggest taking it another step forward and coming up with an ideal date. Doesn't have to be set in stone, but ideally, when would you like to make this dream a reality? Because then you'll know the pace at which you need to take these action steps to make it become possible. And in habit stacking, you could spend once a week, 15 minutes researching a new area. And then after 2 weeks, you add on a second step. And maybe your second step is to join a Facebook group of moms in the area. Or you could, if you know anybody in the area, call them up and say, hey, I'd love to come visit sometime as we're actually thinking about moving there. Maybe you could form a relationship with a mom in a Facebook group and go down and visit. Just stay in a hotel. You don't have to know anyone, and visit the area. Maybe you could plan that out as another step towards making that dream possible. Again, step 5 is just taking one small step towards making that dream a reality. And then, as I talked about step 6, I didn't say step 6, but step 6 is to put a date on it. Just pencil it in. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but an ideal date so that you'll know the time frame that you have to work with to take small steps towards making the dream a reality. Let me quickly review the steps. Step 1, ask yourself, wouldn't it be cool if, and then you fill in the blank. Give yourself a day or two to ponder, just simply in your head, giving it space. Step 2 is to allow for that space and let it stir, giving it space through your day-to-day, or giving it space going on a walk or meditating or praying, giving it space. So step 1, wouldn't it be cool if? Step 2, allowing space for that thought. Step 3, writing down a pros cons list after 1 to 2 days. Step 4 is evaluating that list after a day. Put it away and then come back to it and evaluate. Step 5 is to determine if the pros outweigh the cons after you have given each of them importance levels between 1, 2, and 3. Step 6 is to take Step 5 is to take one small step if the pros outweigh the cons. Step 6 is to set a time frame, so an ideal date, so you'll know the actions you'll need to take to make that dream a reality. So 6 steps. 6 steps to make a dream a reality that simply started with you pondering, wouldn't it be cool if? Let me know if you go through this process, if you come up with something awesome, and let me know the one step that you take. Have a wonderful day. Take care.